Hey Joshua, it's Papa Ronnie here. And today I want to tell you a story. It's one of my favorite stories that I used to tell your dad when he was younger. And it's a story set in Australia. It has lots and lots of weird animals. Our main animals are going to be a dingo. He's kind of like a wild dog. And a wombat. It's not a bat at all. It looks kind of like a little bear. And we're going to meet some weird animals like a platypus who has fur but a duckbill. And an emu is like an ostrich. We're also going to see a lizard with a bright blue tongue. We're going to meet a koala. We're going to see as well an echidna, which is kind of a weird word, but it's just an anteater and a porcupine kind of mixed together. So it's got spines and it eats ants. And so all of this together is going to be in a cool story. It's called Wombat Stew. So here's the story of Wombat Stew, just for you, Joshua. One day, on the banks of a billabong, a very clever dingo caught a wombat and decided to make Wombat Stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy Wombat Stew. Well, Platypus came ambling up the bank. "G'day, Dingo," he said, snapping his bill. "What is all that water for?" "I'm brewing up a gooey, chewy stew with that fat wombat," replied Dingo with a toothy grin. "If you ask me," said Platypus, "the best thing for a gooey stew is mud. Big blops of billabong mud." "Blops of mud?" Dingo laughed. "What a good idea. Righto, in they go." So Platypus scooped up big blops of mud with his tail and he tipped them into the billy can. And around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, "Wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy wombat stew." Ooh! Waltzing out from the shade of the ironbarks came Emu, and she arched her graceful neck over the brew. "Aho, Dingo," she fluttered, "what have we here?" "Gooey, chewy wombat stew," boasted Dingo. "If only," she sighed, "it were a bit more chewy. But don't worry, a few feathers might set it right." "Feathers?" Dingo smiled. "That would be chewy. Righto, in they go." So into the gooey brew, Emu dropped her finest feathers. And around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, "Wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy wombat stew." Well, old Blue Tongue the lizard came sliding off his sun-soaked stone. "Silly Dingo," he hissed, "there are no flies in this stew. Can't be wombat stew without crunchy flies in it." And he stuck out his bright blue tongue. "There's a lot to be said for flies," agreed Dingo, putting his paws together. "Righto, in they go." So Lizard snapped 100 flies from the air with his long tongue, and he flipped them into the gooey, chewy stew. And around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, "Wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy wombat stew." Well, up through the red dust popped Echidna. "Wait a bit, not so fast," he bristled, shaking the red dust off of his quills. "Now, I've been listening to all this advice, and take it from me, for a munchy stew, you need slugs and bugs and creepy crawlies." Well, Dingo wagged his tail and said, "Why, I should have thought of that. Righto, in they go." So Echidna dug up all sorts of creepy crawlies and dropped them into the gooey, chewy, crunchy stew. And that very clever Dingo stirred and stirred, all the while singing, "Wombat stew, hot and spicy, oh so nicey wombat stew." Just then, the sleepy-eyed koala, climbed down the scribbly gum tree. Look here, he yawned. Any bush cook knows you can't make spicy stew without gum nuts. Leave it to the koala to think of gum nuts, Dingo laughed. He licked his whiskers. Righto, in they go. And so, into the gooey, chewy, crunchy, munchy stew, koala shook lots and lots of gum nuts. Aha! Cried the dingo. Now my stew is missing only one thing. Well, what's that? Asked the animals. That fat wombat. Wait, stop. Hang on, Dingo. You can't put that wombat in the stew yet. Why not? You haven't tasted it. Righto, I'll taste it. And that very clever Dingo bent over the billy and took a great big slurp of stew. Oh, I'm poisoned, he howled. You've all tricked me. And he dashed away deep into the bush, never again to sing. Wombat stew, gooey brewy, yummy chewy wombat stew. Wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy wombat stew, hot and spicy, oh so nicey wombat stew. The end. Hope you enjoyed the story, Josh. Awesome sauce.